In 1669, a prisoner was locked away in a French fortress under strict orders from the crown. No trial, no name, just a mask, some say iron, others say velvet, worn every moment of his life. For over 3 decades, he was moved between prisons, always hidden, always watched. No one knew who he was, but one thing was certain. He knew something he wasn't allowed to speak. Voltaire believed he was the twin brother of King Louis XIV. Others claimed he held secrets that could unravel the monarchy. The truth? Still unknown. But isn't that the most disturbing part? That someone could be erased, not because of what they did, but because of what they knew. Or worse, because of what they saw. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. The world around you? It has its own mask, and the logic you use to make sense of it, that's not truth. That's control. Because what if the rules you live by, the beliefs, the timelines, the facts, aren't based on reality at all? What if they're just the safest story your mind could create to survive a world it never understood? Now let's talk about this illusion we call logic, and why it might be the very thing keeping you asleep. 1. The illusion of a logical world. Most people believe that logic is the ultimate tool to navigate life. They think if they just analyze enough, they'll figure things out. But they rarely question what exactly they're trying to figure out. The truth is, logic itself is built on assumptions that were never examined in the first place. The mind clings to patterns not because they're true, but because they feel safe. And so, people end up living inside a carefully crafted illusion, one that feels smart, but quietly limits their awareness. You see it everywhere. Someone obsessing over finding the right decision, comparing every detail, building pros and cons lists as if the world is a spreadsheet. But life isn't a formula. It's not made of equations or guaranteed outcomes. People want logic to solve everything because it gives the illusion of control. Yet the deeper reality is far more unpredictable, and no amount of overthinking will make it solid. Awareness, not analysis, is what helps you actually live the moment. Imagine trying to measure the wind with a ruler. That's what it's like, trying to understand the flow of reality using only logic. The wind is real, but your method is wrong. Reality isn't made for your mind to conquer, it's meant to be experienced. And ironically, the more rational you try to be, the more disconnected you become from the truth that was always right in front of you. The truth doesn't always come dressed in facts. It often arrives in silence, in feeling, in stillness. That's why so many people feel tired after thinking so much. They've convinced themselves that the answer must be out there, somewhere in a data set or a plan. But that kind of thinking is a loop, a trap. It's like walking in circles in a room with no doors, believing there's a way out if you just think hard enough. And the worst part? Most never realize they're even in the room. But something strange starts happening once you question the structure itself. 2. The trap of rational overthinking. Overthinking is one of the smartest-looking traps a person can fall into. It wears a suit, speaks in theories, and convinces you that you're being responsible. But really, it's fear wearing a mask. It's the illusion that if you just think hard enough, you'll avoid pain, you'll dodge regret, you'll predict every possible failure and be safe. But awareness doesn't come from mental gymnastics. It comes from realizing you can't think your way into freedom. A man will lie awake for hours trying to solve a conversation he had days ago, replaying every word like a courtroom transcript. But no clarity comes, just more spinning. That's because logic isn't the problem. Attachment is. When your thoughts are running the show, your life becomes one long rehearsal for moments that never arrive. Overthinking gives you a task, but not a direction. It feels like movement, but it leads nowhere new. Here's a simple way to notice if you're caught in this trap. Ask yourself how often you solve the same problem in your head more than once. If the same thoughts are circling every day without resolution, That's not insight, it's mental noise. Try this instead. Write the thought down once, just once, then step away. Let your body decide what to do next. Walk, breathe, drink some cold water, anything but think more. That's how you break the loop. And the irony, overthinking doesn't make you smarter, it makes you more rigid. You start treating life like it's a math test with one correct answer. But reality doesn't work like that. It's flexible, it shifts, it moves with your presence, not your analysis. And while your mind is busy solving problems that don't even exist, something far more alive is quietly slipping away, unnoticed, but always there, waiting. 3. Reality isn't solid, so why are you acting like it is? Most people walk around like the world is carved in stone. They trust the ground under their feet, the thoughts in their head, and the faces in their life as if they're permanent. But what they don't realize is, reality is more like water than rock, constantly shifting, never staying still. The illusion is thinking that everything is fixed, that what you see is what's true. But science already proved your brain edits and predicts reality before you even notice it. So what exactly are you reacting to all day? Think about it. You've had dreams that felt more real than real life. You've misremembered events with absolute certainty. You felt a vibe in a room that no one else noticed. That's not just coincidence. That's your awareness bumping into the edges of something deeper, something the rational mind can't explain. The problem is, we act like life is a serious business meeting when it's actually more like a lucid dream. If reality is this fluid, this unpredictable, then maybe the only thing that's solid is your belief that it is. Let's get practical. Instead of assuming your first thought about a situation is the truth, pause and ask, what else could this mean? Practice that in traffic, in arguments, in moments of fear. The more you do it, the more you'll see that most of your reactions aren't to life, they're to assumptions about life. You're not just experiencing the moment, you're filtering it through past pain, old stories, and half-truths that your mind has convinced you are facts. But facts are fragile when seen from a higher awareness. And here's the trick most people miss. If you treat reality like it's solid, you become solid too. Rigid, tense, afraid to move the wrong way. But when you start seeing life as something soft, dreamlike, surreal, you relax. You let go of needing to control everything. You stop taking every setback so seriously. And in that space, a strange kind of clarity begins to rise. Not the clarity of answers, but of presence. And suddenly, you're not reacting to life anymore. You're dancing with it. 4. When seriousness becomes a cage. Somewhere along the way, people started believing that being serious means being wise. That if you furrow your brow and plan everything perfectly, you're more in touch with reality. But here's the secret nobody tells you. Most seriousness is just stress in a costume. It's not wisdom. It's just the mind clinging to control. And when you cling to the illusion of control, you miss the freedom of simply being. You forget how to laugh, how to play, how to feel the moment without dissecting it. Ever watch a child build something out of blocks only to knock it down with joy and start again? That's the spirit most adults have forgotten. Somewhere between deadlines and expectations, they traded play for pressure. They act like life is this fixed script that must be followed. But awareness doesn't grow in a tight, clenched space. It breathes in lightness. It awakens when you're willing to not take everything so personally. Most people are imprisoned not by circumstance, but by how seriously they take every thought. Try this. Next time you feel overwhelmed, say out loud, "I'm not in danger. I'm just being too serious again." Then breathe. Drop your shoulders. Shake it off, literally. Go outside and sit under the sun without an agenda. Let yourself be a little ridiculous. Watch how the illusion starts to crack when you stop defending it with a straight face. You'll notice that most of your stress isn't from life itself. It's from the meaning your mind keeps attaching to everything. And here's what's wild. When you stop being so serious, you don't become irresponsible. you become available. Available to joy, to insight, to connection, to the strange and sacred beauty hiding in the mundane. But the mind won't give up its grip easily. It will whisper that seriousness is the price of being respected, of being awake. But what if true awareness isn't about looking deep all the time, but about remembering how light it all actually is? 5. You don't need to understand everything. The rational mind wants closure. It wants a clean answer, a satisfying explanation, a reason why things happen the way they do. But life doesn't operate like a textbook. The more you try to understand every little thing, the more tangled you become in overthinking. Not everything is meant to be figured out. Some things are meant to be felt, surrendered to, or simply witnessed in silence. Awareness doesn't demand answers. It offers presence, and that's often enough. Take relationships, for example. One day someone pulls away and the mind starts spinning. Was it me? Did I say something wrong? What changed? Instead of allowing space for uncertainty, people demand a mental narrative to soothe the discomfort. But those narratives are rarely true. They're just guesses dressed as facts. What if the most powerful move in those moments isn't to understand, but to trust that reality is unfolding exactly as it should, even when it makes no sense? Try practicing mental fasting. Once a day, notice something you don't understand. Someone's behavior, a delay, a feeling, and say, "I don't need to figure this out right now." Then let it be. You'll find a strange peace arises when you stop interrogating life. You weren't designed to solve everything. You were designed to be with everything. And in that shift from solving to sensing, your awareness expands far beyond the mind's narrow grip. You see, understanding is often just the ego trying to stay in control. It doesn't want to feel confused, vulnerable, or powerless. But some of the most profound moments in life come when we let go of needing to know and step into the mystery. It's uncomfortable, yes, but that's where truth lives. Not in conclusions, but in the quiet space beyond them. And once you stop chasing answers, you might start hearing something deeper than logic ever allowed. 6. Control is a disguise for fear. Control sounds responsible, mature, even admirable. But in reality, most control is just fear in disguise. People control their schedules, their emotions, their environment, not because they love order, but because they're scared of what might happen without it. The illusion is that if you manage every detail, you'll avoid chaos. But life isn't chaotic. It just doesn't follow your script. And the more you try to force it into a box, the more it pushes back. Look at how people micromanage their relationships. They text the exact right thing, wait the perfect amount of time, analyze responses like secret codes. It's not love, it's fear of loss wearing the mask of awareness. Same with money. People obsess over every cent, not because they love abundance, but because they're afraid of running out. The problem is, control might keep you safe, but it also keeps you small. You don't expand when you're constantly managing risk. You expand when you trust. Try this for 1 week. Allow something small to go unplanned. Don't double-check that message. Don't ask for reassurance. Don't organize the outcome. Just let it be. You'll feel the discomfort rise, but if you stay with it, something powerful happens. Your nervous system begins to realize it can survive without being in charge of everything. And when control softens, awareness takes its place. It's less tense, more curious. It asks, "What's unfolding here?" instead of, "What do I fix?" And here's the paradox. True peace doesn't come from holding life tightly. It comes from letting life hold you. But the mind hates that. It sees surrender as weakness, when it's actually the highest form of intelligence. When you're not busy controlling everything, you start noticing everything. The beauty, the synchronicities, the natural flow you were blocking with all your plans. And slowly it becomes obvious. Control wasn't saving you. It was just distracting you from the truth. 7. Awakening isn't a thought process. Most people assume awakening is about thinking differently, like upgrading your software to run more spiritual programs. But real awakening isn't about thinking more or better or deeper. It's about seeing through thought altogether. The mind believes it can awaken by rearranging itself, but that's like trying to clean a mirror with dirt. You don't wake up through thoughts. You wake up when you realize thoughts were never the source of truth in the first place. Let's be honest. Most men don't even realize they're chasing awakening like it's a business goal. Read this book, do that meditation, repeat that affirmation. And while those things can be useful, they're often just new strategies for the same old problem, trying to achieve what can only be remembered. Awareness isn't something you gain, it's something you stop ignoring, and you can't think your way there. You arrive by letting go. Try this. The next time you meditate, instead of trying to focus or control your breath, just notice the thoughts and do nothing about them. Don't follow, don't fight. Just let them pass like clouds. That space between the thoughts, that's you, not your name, not your role. You as awareness. And it's always been there, underneath all the analyzing, worrying, and overthinking. You don't have to understand it. You just have to notice it. The illusion is thinking there's a finish line. Some final insight where everything makes sense and nothing bothers you anymore. But awakening isn't a destination. It's a subtle shift in how you relate to reality. From chasing to witnessing, from clinging to allowing, from identifying with thoughts to seeing that you were never your thoughts. And once that shift begins, even the mind starts to quiet. Not because you forced it to, but because it finally realized it's not the one in charge.